Center. Well, we started, never
I
mind.
didn't.
Not, a lot of people did not.
Isn't it this weekend or is it next weekend?
Who said that?
Gabriel.
No, it has actually already passed.
Okay, then I must. I've been in and out of town, so I know that I thought I saw an email, but I thought it was upcoming. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, it's passed, and that was interesting.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Pasadena Sister Cities meeting. We're going to get started. The time is 6:36 p.m. And each of you have received the agenda via email, and we are going to adjusted our agenda to accommodate our invited guests, and we will resume our normal agenda at our next general meeting. So with that said, I'd like to ask everyone to please review the agenda and let me know if there are any changes that you would like to make to the agenda. Hearing none, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Secretary Elizabeth Ellis.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. So the minutes did go out, and so at this juncture, I would like to know, is there any questions or any concerns or anything in regards to the minutes? The minutes went out today, so I'm trying to get my screen. Please forgive me. I'm having problems with my computer, so please forgive. Oh my God. Okay, there I am. Okay.
Hearing none, I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
I second.
Who was at that second?
Joanne Forte. Mormon.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so it is my pleasure. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for the work that you put into producing those minutes.
You're welcome.
That's a lot of work. At this time, I am so excited that we have two.
Lena, we need to have an assent of that everyone voted on this first.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
If there are no objections.
I guess I was just too excited about having our special guests.
I know you are.
Are there any questions? No questions? Does everyone that wants to vote for the approval of the minutes that were presented, can you please show by just saying yes?
Yes.
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 Is there any opposition? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Mhm.
The motion carries. Thank you so very much.
Yes.
Now, with my excitement, I am so excited to introduce to some and present to others our special guest speakers. We have Suzanne Madison, the CEO of Allegra, which is a consulting firm working with the city of Pasadena on the SR 710 project. And she's going to explain to all of us what that is and what that means. So I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne, and then after Suzanne speaks, then we're going to have Tina Williams, and many of you know Tina Williams. She's been in this community, I want to say forever, and she was very involved with public policy. She's now involved with, she sits on the board of the SR 710, appointed by Council Member Tyrone Hampton. So we're going to start off, and they both will give you a little bit more about who they are. I'm going to turn the mic over to Suzanne Madison.
Thank you. Thank you. So please accept my apologies that my camera is not working, but I'm Suzanne Madison with Allegra Consulting. And Allegra Consulting is working on the oral history project for the SR 710 Reconnecting Communities. Our role on the project, well, first a little bit about Allegra. We've been in Pasadena for over 20 years. We pretty much specialize in public sector marketing, and communications. But our role on this project is to conduct an oral history task where we're in the process of gathering stories of those impacted by the SR 710 freeway construction. So with gathering those stories, we've been conducting interviews with groups, organizations, and associations. We have gathered over 125 stories. We feel really good about it. We've used both videos to capture the stories along with an online community input tool, which serves as the repository for the stories. We've been collaborating with other consultants on the project, and Tina will probably expand a little bit further on the many pieces of the 710. But again, Allegra is working on the oral history. Our final deliverable to the city and to the task force will be a report to the city manager's office, and we're also producing a documentary, a film. So why oral history matters? It's important that we preserve our cultural heritage. It's important that we document our experiences. And it's important that we really ensure that our identity is preserved for the long haul. You guys might have seen media floating around. You might have seen transit posters. We have ads running in various publications. We have stories running in various news publications. We're utilizing the city's social media feed, and then we're also working with churches. We're working with other organizations, community-based nonprofits to really get the word out. We're also engaging and partnering in community events. We presented the project on Tuesday at the Akebulon Cultural Center, and it was received extremely well. We were able to engage with several people who were actually displaced by the 710. I believe we captured 10 video stories, which was interesting. So our target audience for this project is, number one, displaced residents, people who were actually displaced where they lost their homes through eminent domain, displaced businesses, displaced organizations, and then we're also engaging with people who are not displaced but impacted by the SR 710 freeway construction. We're nearing the completion of our outreach period. We're scheduled to wrap up the data gathering, capturing the stories on June 30th. So if you guys know of anyone who might have been displaced or impacted by the 710 freeway construction, please send them our way. And once we, reach our goal of 150 to 200 stories, we're working closely with Dr. Allison Rose Jefferson. She's an amazing historian who will analyze all the information. She'll verify the data and the stories and the artifacts and the photos that we've gathered along the way, and ensure, and guarantee pretty much that these are real stories of people who have been displaced and impacted by the 710 freeway construction. So our part, or our piece of this project, is the 710 oral history. And I'm sure you guys have heard the 710 mentioned in different places and spaces, but we're only working on the oral history piece of this project, and we're pretty excited. So I'm asking you guys, if you know of anyone who has been displaced or impacted, to connect with us. I'll drop our information in the chat. We have an online repository where they can either take a survey, they can share their story, they can upload photos. We have a ton of photos that people have been so willing to share with us. If you can spread the word with your neighbors and friends, We can also provide you guys with a flyer, a digital flyer, if you'd like to circulate it within your community newsletter, social media, or other ways that we communicate to the public. But that is the project that Allegra Consulting is working on. If you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions, and I believe Tina Williams will probably expand on what's happening with the 710 in a broader capacity. But if you have any questions about the oral history piece, I'm more than happy to respond.
Suzanne, I have a couple of questions. One is, how many stories do you have now?
We have about 125 stories in our repository, and we have about probably 15. We have about 15 videos that we've captured along the way.
And my second question is the age group. You know, I know quite a few people who were affected by the 710, but they're gone. And I'm not sure if you're capturing those at all, or are you getting any young people that know that their parents were a part of that? I think that's an interesting piece, because I don't know whether sometimes our young people don't even pay attention. I'm not trying to dog them, but we got to get out there and let them know if their parents were part of that, they got to come and speak.
Absolutely, Martin, that's a great question. So yes, we're interacting and engaging with the older generation who were definitely impacted and displaced. We're also engaged with their descendants, and they have a lot of good information. They're bringing to us documents, deeds, photos. One descendant shared with us 75 businesses that were actually located in the 710 area. So what we have discovered through this, fact gathering aspect, Martin, is that West Pasadena, the area that was displaced, it was actually a thriving community with residents. It had department stores, it had restaurants, it had hotels, it had places to shop and eat. And the other interesting fact, and again, I apologize, I don't have my camera on. I'm traveling. I apologize because I like to show my face. The other interesting part that we've discovered is that inside of this area, the people who lived there, they actually worked. They had jobs. So this area, West Pasadena, it was an economic hub. It was an economic engine for the city of Pasadena. And sadly, it's been erased, and, generational wealth has been impacted. I know I shouldn't be saying all this, Tina, but I'm going to put it out there and that's what the younger generation is telling us. And that's what they're telling us, that in some cases, the families were displaced twice. And they've lost 2 homes. They've lost 3 businesses. And these families have had to start over. And that really affects our generational wealth. So,
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I can
Thank you.
go on and on. Thank you, Martin.
you
Cynthia, you
so-
have a question? Or
Yeah.
Lena, I'm sorry. You can.
Cynthia, there is some questions, and then after this question, I'm going to turn it over to Tina. Cynthia Kennedy.
Hi, that's just fascinating. I'm an amateur historian myself, history major in college, and I love these kinds of studies. But I have a fundamental question. What are we going to do with this information? I keep hearing about this, and
So, Cynthia,
this is valuable real estate. There's, all these people grabbing at it, frankly. You have the West Pasadena people wanting to do real estate development. You have people who have their own reasons. And the history, is teaching us what history always teaches us, which is that people have been mistreated, that political power has been abused. So I'm just eager to find out, what are we going to do with this information?
so why don't we have Tina talk?
Yeah.
After Tina speaks, then we'll open it up for Q&A. Does that work, Tina, for you and
Sure.
Suzanne?
Mhm.
Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Tina Williams, who many of you know. And Tina, if you want to say a little bit more about yourself, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a longtime Deanan, as we call ourselves, Pasadena, Altadena, went to John Muir High School, elementary school, in Altadena. Was part of busing, with all that, in the 70s. So long history here. I worked for Councilmember Jackie Robinson. I was her council liaison or field deputy for 2 terms when she was in District 1. I'm now the representative for District 1 on the 710 Reconnecting Communities Advisory Board. So I can give you a history of the advisory board.
Tina, can I interrupt and just say you
Sure.
also work for Councilmember Joyce Streeter as well? So you have, is that correct?
I didn't
you
work for
did.
Joyce though.
Oh, you didn't
No.
work for Joyce. Oh, okay.
I
Excuse
did
me.
work for Harambe Ministries
Right,
for
Harambe,
a
okay.
while as their outreach person. My heart is in outreach and community engagement. That's what I've done. I also worked in higher ed for a while and then transitioned into other areas. So just a little background on the 710. So and many of you you know about this, you have some understanding, so forgive me if I'm being a bit redundant. Just some facts about what happened, and then we'll go into trying to answer your question, Cynthia, about what is going to be done with this information that we're gathering. So back in 1964, November 18th, 1964, Caltrans wanted to complete the freeway, a 5-mile route to connect the 210, 710, all of that going down to Long Beach. Now, we know that process just it wasn't complete. Caltrans said, there was a lot of public pushback, and because of that, it was relinquished back to the city of Pasadena, given back to the city of Pasadena. It's a little under 50 acres. The city said, okay, we're getting this land back. We're landlocked. This is very valuable. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for the city. We should put together an advisory body to help us understand what the implications are and to kind of oversee the process of what will happen with the land. So to advise council. So we're an advisory body. We're not a decision-making body. Staff is running the meetings, and then we are participating. We do have influence on the agenda, the topics. Community outreach is something that I've been very involved in with the advisory team. So the advisory team began April 2023, about the first of the year. Our first meeting was held a little over a year ago. And so there's 16 members of our advisory body. It's Brown Act, so you can get the information. You can see us online. They're videotaped. You can go back and look at the questions that have been asked. The agendas come out on we meet the 3rd Wednesday of each month at 6:30 at City Hall, right in the council chamber. So we're all around that dais, kind of squeezed in as a group of people. But our objective and goal, it has been to inform ourselves as well as the public about the SR 710. So what the city did, they hired a project manager, Wendy Macias, oversees on the staff side. They then went kind of a little bit out of order, the historian piece. They decided there needs to be a historian for different areas of what has happened. So back when this freeway cut through the thriving community, as Suzanne explained, over 4,000 people were displaced, 1,500 homes were demolished. The primary ethnic groups were African American, Mexican American, and Japanese American. Those were the ethnic groups that lived in this thriving area. So you had Pasadena has had a history of racial covenants and redlining. Racial covenants were basically done all over the United States, limiting people's ability to own land or purchase a home in certain areas. Redlining was also practiced in Pasadena. That's how we ended up with some of the folks in Northwest, and that's how people were they kept us segregated in certain pockets and areas in Pasadena. So when we talk about what happened, we have to have a historical context to fully understand what the implications are. Understanding the past informs us on what we should do in the future. Without that piece, we're likely to miss a valuable piece of history and information. So the 16-member committee, council decided each council member got to select someone. The mayor got to select a couple of people. Two of our people were actually displaced from the freeway. And those folks are on the committee as well. And one was from the 210, the other the 710, because much of what happened has to do with the 210 as well as the 710. We are narrowed our focus to the 710, but they both do, they have implications, as you guys well know. So growing up in Pasadena and Altadena, my parents first lived in Pasadena, then moved to Altadena. I've lived in Pasadena for a number of years as an adult. And I remember the 210, and I remember it slicing through our community. So I'll give you a little history of myself. I went to Franklin Elementary School. My mother was very involved in PTA. My father worked 2 jobs. I'm very proud to be from a working class family. My dad was a janitor. Then he worked his way up to a deputy chief of building services for LA County. So he managed all of the courthouse, USC, hospital, all of that was his territory. My dad and mom were very involved in the community, as folks well knew. My mother with PTA, my dad, because he was involved in LA County. Our community was comprised of African-American, Mexican, and Japanese. And so my mother, I remember her friends, Miss Maeda, the Ogawas, and the Corrales family. That was her crew. And those women ran that school because they wanted to give us a quality education. My mother also was a teacher's aide at Lincoln Elementary School, which was demolished due to the 710. So I have ties in the community that go way back. And what drives me is the fact of what I had in my community, is my mother's friends, those women, the Corrales, Miss Corrales, Maeda, and Ogawa stayed friends throughout their lives. They've passed away, some of them since then, but even their children will call, and my mom, David Corrales, and say, "Hi, Mrs. Jackson, how are you? How are you doing?" That was how close-knit our community and families were. As my father, he would have people come to the house who needed a job. So there could be Mexican, Black, Filipino. They came looking for work. So I always understood the importance of community and the beauty of ethnic diversity because of my lived experience. And I say that because in context of what happened at the 710 stub is very reflective of a community that had that diversity as well. And this is not an isolated incident. The freeway cutting across communities and destroying neighborhoods have happened in the United States. So there are 3 parts to the oral history. So I'm going to shift this over to from my personal story and why I'm involved in community to how this relates to the 710. So the 3 areas of history, the first area is a general overview of the history of Pasadena that's going to be given by ARG. It was a bid process. They won the bid for telling the story overall about the history of the 710 and its impact on our community in the city of Pasadena. Allegra, I'm glad to say, is doing the oral history and doing an excellent job of gathering that information. And we heard from Suzanne on that. And then UCLA is really geared towards honing into how the freeway systems have impacted. And they're giving a history, not of general history of the United States, but also honing into how has this impacted the city of Pasadena. And they have all given presentations to the advisory body. So they're telling us, gathering information for us and giving us information about the history of Pasadena and how the 710 has affected the city as a whole. The city has said to us as an advisory body, this is important, that this is historic and they want to get it right. Now, that being said, there are powers that be, and lots of folks want to know, this is prime real estate, right? And so where Friendship Baptist Church is today, many of those folks had to leave the community that went to Friendship Baptist. And while that historic church is still there, a lot of the community members are not living there anymore. So you have Westgate, you have Old Town area. That part of Pasadena would have been considered part of District 6, West Pasadena's area. And it's fascinating because I don't know how many folks in that area realize these were their neighbors that are no longer there. So it's a complex kind of community study, and it has a lot of implications for the future. Our hope is we are seated on this committee, and our hope is, and my hope in particular, is that we'll stay on this committee throughout the process, because there's going to be a master plan that will determine land use. So anytime the city wants to do something with land, there's a great deal of study, the environmental impacts of this, so all kinds of traffic impacts, all of that has to be taken into account. So my hope, and I think the hope of all our committee members, our board, advisory board members, is that we'll be on this journey with the city through this process that includes the master plan, which they say will take about 2 years. I think that's being optimistic. I think it might be more like 3 to 4. This is a lengthy process. Nothing's going to happen overnight. This is a decade in the making. First of all, there's money involved. The state gave some money for some preliminary work to be done, but then that money has pretty much been used. So there's other ways to get money, grants, and so forth. So the interest is in what do the people who are most impacted and those who still remain along that 710 corridor, what do the people of Pasadena overall want to see happen to this area? And so I think the voice of the people needs to be heard, those displaced as well as those who are still there. So we've heard from people who live in the area who live in West Pasadena still in District 6 and other places, and they have an interest, as they should, in what will happen. And we've heard from other groups, environmental groups. We've had presentations done with groups. In all full disclosure, I belong to another group called 710 Restorative Justice Pasadena. Our hope is to advocate for the displaced. And so there are all these entities that want to be heard. I think Phyllis has her hand up. So I think that's in general what we're about, but I'll take questions, maybe clarify along the way.
Okay. Thank you. I have a quick question.
Sure.
I think you touched on a few of my issues. So how far back are you going? You mentioned 1964. Is there any prior history before this? I guess that was the master plan. That's question one. And what's the completion date? Did you say in 2 to 3 years, or do you expect to have that completed by the Olympics? And question three, do you expect any tie-ins to the Olympics in terms of informing or inviting our visitors to learn more about the area. So it's three
Um,
problems.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention Perkins Eastman, who's over the whole process. They're the consulting group that was hired to be over all the historians and all the components, and they're doing a fantastic job. No, I don't think this project will be done by any Olympics in the near future. And the reason is when they dug out the ditch, when they started this process in the 60s, and I think it was completed in the mid 70s, around 1974, where the 210 and the 710 and that part goes, they call it the stub, the ditch, because it's literally like a big ditch, right? They have to determine, do we fill this halfway, totally? Do we build on top and we don't touch the bottom part? What's the feasibility of all of that? How much would this cost? What's the environmental impact of filling the ditch? So if they go that route, so Perkins Eastman actually did a great presentation at our last meeting. If you go back and go on the City of Pasadena's Reconnecting Communities 710 website, you can go back and see the video presentation that Perkins Eastman did. And they did an overlay of different possibilities of what could be done to the stub. That was really, really clear and gave some options. I'm always looking for things that city might not pay attention to. One is who's at the table, whose voices are being heard. So I asked the city, have outreach in places that you normally don't go to. Go to the people. Don't expect them all to come to the same places because you're going to get the same people to show up. And as a field rep, that's one of the things I tried to do. The second thing I pointed to was, let's think outside the box. For instance, when it comes to filling in the ditch with dirt, that's a huge project if it happens. If that's the choice that the city makes, then it would require mounds and mounds of dirt. Where's that dirt going to come from? Well, when I worked for Councilmember Robinson, the city was trying to get more soccer fields built because they need more for kids, Parks and Rec. And they were going to use Tahamunga, which is a sacred place for Indigenous folks. And so I was on the task, it was in our district, and I said, look, Jackie gave me the task to find a place for the soccer field other than Hahamunga. And so I looked, called staff, no other place. We've done our studies, there's no other place. I said, what about John Muir High School? They have a multi-field, a field. And so they said, oh, it actually will fit at John Muir High School. So that's how John Muir High School got a soccer field, a multi-purpose field, is because we looked outside of the box for possibilities. The other thing is, if the ditch is going to be filled with dirt, every year they're taking sediment from Devil's Gate Dam or Hahamunga, whatever the term that you are familiar with. And maybe, I don't know the feasibility, but I propose that they at least look into that, because the distance traveled would be shorter, the pollution would be shorter, and if they have to take that dirt somewhere, maybe, just maybe, it might be something to do. So that's what we do as a group of 16 people. We try to look and be creative about what the possibilities are, and our task is to hear from you, community members, and to hear from the displaced, and to hear from the east, west, north, south Pasadenans. All Pasadenans have a voice and should be heard at the table. But what sometimes happens is our folks of color, don't hear about it as quickly, folks who are working class like my family, they're just trying to make it, especially in today's economy. And they may not have the time to devote to coming down and going across to this meeting over here or that meeting. So maybe they've heard, maybe not. And that's where Allegra and others are doing outreach, because we want to make sure that all Pasadenians are at the table and their voices are heard regarding this really historic thing. So this is happening all over the United States, where folks of color are saying, y'all cut into our communities, dismantled the core, the root of our ecosystem and our businesses where we were thriving. And now you want to do something. Well, restoring what was taken is a time-consuming process, and it needs all the components of community to make it happen. So my hope is to stir your interest, to get you to talk to other people, so you guys show up or queue in or go into the website, the City of Pasadena's website, and track us and keep us accountable to do the right thing. That's what's going to make a difference. Someone, I think, Cynthia, you asked the question, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is there are people who have a vested interest in this land, who have resources and money. And then there's a whole bunch of community people who want to see what happens. So there's this scale. What's going to be done? Our hope is not that one would rise above the other, but we would say, okay, how can we work together and get something that is reflective of community and is not harmful to the environment and that works in favor for us all? But I'm also very, very adamant, those displaced people, the people that were affected, have to have a say in land use. Have to have a say in land use. They have to have a say in whether that's, I will, at the end of this, give you a website to look at for 710 Restorative Justice Pasadena. I'm not here on behalf of that. I'm here for the advisory part. But in any case, runs true that we have to work together collectively to have our voices heard. So we've been reaching out. I've given them as much knowledge as I know, whether it's Allegra or ARG or UCLA, on the Japanese American community that I have knowledge of, and friends who are in that community, the Mexican American community and the African American community, so that they can go to those communities and give information and educate. So I'm sorry, Cynthia. And then Phyllis, I think.
Thanks so much. That was very enriching. I think history is essential. You use the word restore. What I think is that all the various interests in Pasadena are very clear, crystal clear about what they want. I'm not hearing what we want. Clearly, we want history set straight because this is an important chapter. We've seen it all over the United States. I just think we need to be quickly specific about what we want. You know, it's not just the history. The history is essential. We have to know, and we have to document it for posterity. But if we don't come up with a plan for what kind of community, who will benefit, just saying we want our voices heard is good, but what are our voices saying? So I'm eager to hear. I mean, I would love, for example, to see a plan put forward for a participatory green zone, where we really did something interesting with that space and included every single person who was disadvantaged by the eminent domain process or their heirs. Plus, we have a systematic way of including other people in the community, so that there's a new diverse community. We could get federal money. I mean, it would be very wonderful, but that's not what a lot of people are asking for. They just want to do real estate development. So if we don't come up with a plan, the plans of other people will prevail.
Take over. I totally agree with you, Cynthia. I'm going to just give you guys a website to look at, because it does outline what the 710 Restorative Justice Pasadena is asking for. And then I'll go to Phyllis and Gina. So just to be specific about that group's desire, it's called, if you go to 710restorative.justice.com, they're advocating for redress for displaced homeowners. That would be home ownership. So just not just affordable housing to be built there, but homes were taken and the rate of the appraised value of a home that people got for their property, we already know historically was depressed. So let's say I own, a friend of mine, Porfirio, His father owned Victorian Frosto. His father owned 3 Victorian homes. Okay, and their people, 4 churches are gone. A lot of this, and those homes are the same homes on the other side of the street, or, you know, same architect, same design. Value was depressed. Value wasn't the same in a certain part of Pasadena, and that we know for sure. So, sorry, I lost something here. They're asking for redress for renters that were displaced. They're asking and I'm a part of this group, redress for displaced business owners. So like an incubation a place where people can go and then restart businesses. Businesses were taken, you want to reconnect, you want to restore what was done, restorative justice. So part of that is looking at those businesses, giving business owners an opportunity to have a place to house businesses. Then we want actually a museum that tells the story, which could be part of that documentary that Suzanne has done. We don't want that to sit on a shelf in some city department, because that has happened. When I worked for Councilmember Robinson, a community member walked up to me and said, "What is she gonna do?" This is, you know, back in 2007. He said, "She needs a specific plan, not just a plan." And he handed me a 1980 plan and then said, "This has no meat. She needs a specific plan." I gave it to her. She went to council. She got the money for the Lincoln Avenue specific plan. So that was a 5-year process to get Lincoln Avenue. The city has 8 specific plans. And so this was historic for Lincoln Avenue, for that part of Pasadena. And I mention that because that's something that this process will do. It will come, uh-oh, I lost you guys. Sorry. There will be a master plan. So the city has specific plans, and then there's a master plan. So the master plan will say to developers what they can develop on this land, how high the buildings will be, will there be green space, where will that green space be? So it will take into account all the elements of land use. That's a lengthy process. They say they can do it in 2 years. I doubt seriously. I think that's very optimistic. But if they can do it in 2 years, great. If not, then it may take some time longer. And you're right. We have to show up at these meetings and come to an advisory meeting, go to council and let your voice be heard. That's the way things change, or join a group that's already advocating for the displaced. You can also join that 710 Restorative Justice Pasadena, or any other group, not just that group. There are other groups that are interested in this. So if that doesn't jive with you, whatever you do collectively is going to have a greater impact. And I'm sorry I've gone on.
Thank you so much, Tina. That was so helpful. There are 2 questions. For the sake of time, Gina and Phyllis, if you could put your question in the chat, I'll make sure they get answered. And Cynthia, just to answer your question, I am pulling together a lot of key people in the community so that we can put together a plan to present on what we want. And one of the things that we had talked about was a museum to house African-American artifacts and tell the story. And it maybe could be for all the African-American, Asian, and the Mexican Americans. But that is in the works, and I will make sure that you're a part of that group. Thank you, Tina. Suzanne, okay. I know that you're out of town. If you're still on the line, I want to thank both of you. I thought this was critically important because when we talk about Pasadena sister cities and we interact with other countries, we want to be able to tell a story to them of what we've done and offer suggestions to them as well. And then it's good for us to be informed and to know how we are going to proceed to make a positive difference that impact our community and the different minority groups that were 100% impacted, that positive results come out for them. So thank you so very much. I will make sure everyone get the dates of all upcoming meetings, and we want to see you there. Thank you so very much. Gina and Phyllis, your questions will be answered.
Thank you. You guys have a great meeting. Thanks
Thank
for
you
allowing
so
us
much.
to talk about the 710. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the mic over to Vice President Martin Gordon to talk about the conference that just took place, and it was quite exciting. So Martin, are you here, Martin?
Oh, yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, great.
I screwed myself here. I'm sorry.
Yes, I don't see you.
Here I am. Here I am.
Shared screen. Let's see.
What she's about to show is if we can get it up, is I did a short what do you call those gosh, I don't use them that much.
Presentation.
Yeah, it's a presentation, but I can't think.
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Yeah, PowerPoint. Yeah, my son calls all that stuff. I just call it that thing. And so I actually began by doing a PowerPoint, and Lena, when I got it took quite some time while I was there, and there was a lot of information, and I had about 20 slides. She said, who's gonna be able to stay awake for all of that? So I've tried to put it down to about 6 or 7 slides. I'll give you some quick information. I will get some more information up on the website because there was a lot of connections that we could make to help us in the future, but I want to start right in on where we are. So, Sister Cities International, when I first got there, one of the things I wanted to do, being a new member of Sister Cities International, is go to the Leadership Academy. And the first thing they talked about in this first slide is Sister Cities International pillars, which is humanitarian assistance, education, cultural and student exchange, and economic development. Those are their pillars. Let me go to 2. They talked a lot about, I'm sure, did we go to 3 instead of 2? I'm sorry. Okay, let's get to 3. I'm sorry, that's my fault. Oh, one of the major things that they talked about over and over again was economic development. And they said Sister Cities International should be used as a platform for peace, as a platform for prosperity, and for humanitarian aid. We can go to the next one. There was a lot of talk about economic development. We do a lot with education. We do a lot with taking our students and doing visits to other countries and having people from other countries come to us. But some of the economic development hit home with me over and over again. And they said, where should you start to deal with economic development? And they said, you should go to your communities, your schools, your chambers of commerce, Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, stuff like that, universities, associations, and other nonprofits. And what should we be asking them? Asking them for volunteers, ask them for funding. Let me make it clear. Ask them for money. Co-sponsor events, et cetera, and things of that nature. What should we do? Develop mutually beneficial economic partnerships in areas like tourism. I think we miss this somewhat. Sometimes we send our students abroad, but we should be making, a lot of them talked about making arrangements to have tourism between the United States and your sister city, so you can get some type of discounts, you can have some other kind of economic benefits, arts exchanges, education exchange, technology exchange was a big thing. A lot of countries are less developed than we are, and they could use the technology. We can make partnerships to bring technology there and to bring teachers there, et cetera. And those are another form of economic development. Sports events, festivals, et cetera. We're going to sports events, sports diplomacy, let's get right to it, is that international and local sports as a bridge for partnerships and diplomacy is a big deal. While we were there, I talked about the Olympics, and so did a lot of people. There'll be a lot of opportunities there for sister cities And other sister cities are talking about this already to make partnerships with different sites and different sports venues, you know, in Los Angeles and around the area. And we should be looking at that too. San Diego Sister City, go back for a minute because I want to talk about San Diego Sister City. San Diego Sister City promoted a soccer match with their sister city from South America, with South American students versus local students in San Diego. They sold out a stadium, made money for their sister city, and created a relationship where this may start to happen on a regular yearly basis. Wow, that was amazing, and I got a chance to meet with them. Also, one of the discussions that I was surprised that was really a robust discussion was founder syndrome. The session highlighted a few things. Founders resistant to change of leadership, resistance to new and progressive ways to strengthen relationships, founders creating roadblocks to success and solutions. They actually said, I could not believe how many sister cities were having these problems. As you know, we have had some, and other people have had some just as serious as ours. But we're doing a good job and I mentioned a few things they said to do, which is clarify roles and responsibilities for your board members and your general membership, establish checks and balances, which I believe we're doing really well, establish an executive committee so you have someone that can deal with issues in between meetings, and to build a more diverse board, and we have definitely done that. Let's move to the next one. Other highlights. I went to the Sister City exhibition. They had one session talking about food and love, and I think it was interesting as one of the things that they talked about with a large group was how we should be able, or how we should start using food from other countries and having people come and having those kinds of events to strengthen our relationships. One of the events that I went to was about the African diaspora. It was the largest session I went to. It was a 3-hour session. I could not believe it. One of the issues that happened there that I wasn't aware of, the African diaspora session said that they currently had in Africa 300 sister cities, and they had made a commitment to have 500 more, not 500 more sister cities in the next 5 years, and they have a plan to do that. It was the most country most seeked out to have sister cities. Also, I think I have this back down at the bottom here anyway, but the second most wanted sister cities were in Mexico. As I spoke with a number of people from Mexico that wanted to partner with us for sister cities, we'll be in contact with Renee about this, and a lot of this information I have, because I'm just scratching the surface, will go up on the site, including places where we can make connections with people in different walks of life and in different parts of the government that will help us move our sister cities forward. Also there I show art as a sister city connection. Go to the last one. There's more info to come. There is a lot more information that I learned while I was there. I wanted to keep this to 5 minutes. I'm going to have a more comprehensive document which will go on the site. Also, I have a gob of resources for us, places we can call, the Job Corps, the Diplomatic Corps, some of the U.S. Government places where we can get more information and get support to move forward. I do want to mention one thing that I went through kind of quickly, you know, about as we move forward, you know, under difficult circumstances. One of the things that came out very clearly is that we can be okay with with those partnerships that we have that people have kind of given us some kind of subterfuge and we can't get those back. It is okay. A lot of those people in the founder syndrome, when we talked about this, said, don't worry yourself to death. Make new contacts. make make new sister cities, and do not get bogged down in trying to make something work. That's just not going to happen. So let's be clear that we are going to move forward. I think that's the quick down and dirty of it. I've got to tell you just one bad thing. Every time something good happens, something bad happens. While I was there, I had to pass through Dallas, and I stood in Dallas for 48 hours with no food and nothing else because they wouldn't hold me up. And if any of you saw the movie The Terminal, I felt like that. And so I finally got the heck out of there. But let me tell you, we must continue to go to these sister cities events. I scratched the surface. There are so many resources there for us. I missed half of the presentations because they went on simultaneously, and 2 people could have gone and we would have got much, much more. I wish I could tell you some more stuff, but Lena's looking at me mean already. So because I could talk about this. So thank you guys, and I'm glad that I went, and we should be going to as many of these as we possibly can.
Thank you so very much, Martin. Is there any questions for Martin? For Vice Chair Martin Gordon, any questions?
Beautiful son, John.
Okay, so thank you. Now we're going to go into our committee reports. And the first report, Bob Nemak, are you on the line? Okay. Bob is also traveling, and he said he may not be able to get on the line. So I'm just going to go down the line. Renee Gonzalez for Japan. Phyllis Griffin for Finland. Phyllis, if you're on the line, I thought I saw her. Okay. Phyllis, you're on mute if you're trying to talk. I see Phyllis, but her line is on mute, so I'm going to.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
New phone now. Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Lena, if you don't mind, could I do my other 2 reports following Finland as a way of saving time?
Yes, sure.
Okay, wonderful. I will start with Finland first. I'm excited. I did some research. The things that I want to report tonight is that I went on to the U.S. Embassy in Finland and found out about their funding opportunities that has the name of Fulbright behind it, and a couple of other extinguished senators from 1948 to 1961 regarding the whole Freedom of Information Act and Voice for America. So Finland is really progressive in terms of collaborations and partnership. The American Embassy in Finland has a funding grant for 3 to 12 months at anywhere between $5,000 and $50,000. I shared that with our president a few weeks ago, and she immediately noted what I noted, is that we would need to have a partnership with another nonprofit. And so I asked her to consider us inviting the Finlanda Foundation National to partner with us. They are in Pasadena, right there on Lake Avenue. And for the rest of this year is to seek a partnership. And I feel confident that they should desperately want to partner with us, and that then we can, do more exploration about the funding for the grants. And the funding goes from anywhere from climate change, diversity and inclusion, global security challenges, understanding NATO, women and business challenging, cultural and artistic workshops, just a number of joint performances and exhibits. It's just a lot of things that they are listing that you can actually have funding for. So I'm excited about that. And let me see, there was something else on Finland. Oh, the U.S. Embassy. Okay. And then I don't know if this is a good time because I haven't spoke with the secretary, the president or the treasurer, but it was part of my report requesting funds for myself to travel to Finland on an exploratory mission in mid-October. Finland is a challenging sister city. I have not been able to get any feedback or any information about my counterpart there. So I'm waiting patiently for our mayor of Pasadena to, make those contacts so I can begin to at least have dialogue with someone in my sister city. And so there's a wonderful conference at the time that I'm requesting to go, hoping to go in the mid of October, the International Conference on Globalization and Culture, the Pedagogy of Hope, Gratitude, Diversity, and Sustainability in Education. And as I looked at that, I said, that's like killing three birds with one stone when I look at the other leadership roles that I currently hold within this sister city. So that moves me on to student. Oh, and by the way, the funding that I was requesting for $5,000, what I know is going to be about $8,000. And so that allows me to move over into the student exchange. I'm excited that we generated some new forms. The whole harmless form, the host family policy, the host family application, the pen pal parent consent form, which is part of the CAR, but we know we're looking at all of our sister cities to have a pen pal program. And the student exchange program, we haven't really looked at that application in depth, but that's the easiest one to do. So I'm glad that we made progress on our first draft on those particular forms that are crucial for any student exchange program. We've not had the privilege of meeting to develop our budget and financial plan, but we're going to be doing that. We're now taking individual assignments so we can work at our own pace and time, because the Student Exchange Committee doesn't meet again until August 22nd. And that way we can consult with one another and the executive boards as we need them. Was there anything else on the student exchange? That was because I'm basically reporting on kind of like a duplicate of my work plan and budget that I submitted. I'm also serving as the chair of education, the education chair for the Dakar Plateau Committee. And I'm just going to touch bases because you'll hear more from Marietta. But
Phyllis, that's not part of this report right now.
Okay, all right. We will wait until we get to Dakar.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Chair Phyllis Griffin? Okay, thank you so very much, Phyllis, for an excellent report, and you're doing really great work. So thank you so very much. Next, we're going to invite, Irina is traveling. She's out of the country. Tina Rojas, is she on the line? I don't think I saw Tina from China. Marietta Knox from Senegal.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Martin, because what I'm going to be speaking on this evening is a education program. It's about the pen pal program that we're trying to start up in Dakar Plateau. During my initial visit to Dakar Plateau back in October, I was there from the end of October to mid-November. And I had discussed with Gary Moody, who was our chair for Dakar Plateau, about initiating a pen pal program. And Gary was excited about it, as well as myself. So when I got to, even before I got to Dakar Plateau, I spoke with Sharif Soumare, who is Mayor Ndoye's representative for sister cities there in Dakar Plateau. And I didn't know it at the time, but Sharif is also the superintendent of education for Dakar Plateau. So he was very excited about a pen pal program between Pasadena students and also between the students in Dakar Plateau. And so Sharif, he picked a school. The school is the Aja Mam Yasin Dian Elementary School. He also introduced me to the schoolmaster Joff, who has about, I believe, he has a lot of students, and normally there's about 30 or 40 students in a classroom to a teacher. And the ages, if it's first grade, it could possibly be students from age 6 all the way to age 12. And so we agreed that it would be a great project to have a pen pal program between Pasadena and Dakar Plateau. And so it was, for them and for us, the project was designated as a high priority. So before I could come back to the United States, the Dakar Plateau people had already started finding students, getting them in line with the project. And so I made another trip along with our students. We have our first students to travel in our student exchange program for Dakar Plateau. We had our first trip in March, and we went back to the same school to talk with them. They were excited and waiting for us. They had the names of the students for us. The teacher, whose name is Monsieur Saul, he had decided on the students. I met with the students, and we had a good time in his classroom, and they're ready for us to start. So with the help of Maya and Bobby Littlejohn, that's some of our members, that's 2 of our members, mother and daughter, we were able to find a school here in Pasadena. And the school that's going to participate with us in our Pen Pal program is the Norma Combs Elementary School. The principal's name is Raymond Cross. And Reverend Phyllis Griffin, she's going to speak a little bit to us about why it's important that we have this Pen Pal program. And Martin already told us that education is one of the pillars of the International Sister Cities program. So just a little bit, Reverend Griffin, about why it's important that we have this Pen Pal program.
Before you do that, could you clarify something for me? Because I am so excited about this. You really can't believe it. Is that the Pen Pal program, is it internet-based or actual letters? Or I'm trying to figure out which one.
And that's what Reverend Griffin is going to speak about. Again, the age group that we're going to choose we didn't choose anything. The Dakar Plateau people, they have already lined up the students because we have the summer, vacation time. Right. And it was a good thing so that we can get this lined up. We're only going to take a few students, and I should let the Reverend talk about that.
Okay,
but
I got ahead of myself.
But she'll talk a little bit about why it's important that we do this Pen Pal program, and it's not going to be online based because we have 2 different languages here. So, Reverend Griffin.
Thank you, Marietta. As the chair of the Dakar Plateau Education, I'm excited about this first project that we have initiated, and that is the Pen Pal program. The reason why it is important because it's pretty much common knowledge. Most of us probably experienced a student exchange at one point in our life, that it helps students to learn another language, as well as meet students from all over the country. It enhances students' writing skills. It will be a program that has a format where it is supervised by adults. Again, I'm excited about drafting the parent permission form. I also look forward, when I return to Dakar, I'll get there August the 27th, and look forward to continuing this whole planning process with Sharif and the head teacher, Mr. Saul. They are really excited. I've been keeping them up to date on where we are between the Pen Pal program and the student exchange, because they kind of integrate with a lot of things that I'm doing, even going, beyond the call of duty and to write my stuff in French so that they would know where we are and that we're still moving forward. Sharif Sumar, he's just recently come back from Mecca. So we already know that he's tied up with a number of other things. And but anyway, they are very excited about it. Like Marietta said, they identify their students at the drop of a dime. And I was just so impressed, and knowing that we have seen, those students before, that's what makes it even more exciting. And we're looking at maybe an additional 4 more students, because Marietta did share with me that some of the people on the Dakar subcommittee has expressed interest in maybe their children or grandchildren participated. We wanted to just start off, small with just 10. But so we will revisit and discuss, all the other options and input that everyone has, and find a way to integrate it into the Pen Pal program, and hope that the rest of our sister cities, the remaining 5, will enjoy what we are enjoying now, and that is jumpstarting the student exchange program. Now's the time to do it. Any questions?
Thank you so very much for excellent reports. Does anyone have any questions for Marietta, Chair of Dakar Plateau Synagogue, and Education Chair Phyllis Griffin?
This is just a quick question. How many languages are we talking about? French and a few others?
Well, they have Wolof and they have French, and speak English far more than we speak French or Wolof. So, yeah.
Okay.
But you know what I wanted to include in this? These same students that are going to be pen pals, maybe someday one of them, 2 of them, however many, will be going over there. They'll already know the language. They can communicate. They might decide they want to go to college there, but we need to start them early, learning another language and another culture also.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be the same way here. We're going to have students over there who might want to go to Caltech or to the art school here in Pasadena, or to the PCC, but we want to be ready. We want to be a true sister city with our sister city in Dakar.
We have a question from Marcia Talbert.
Actually, it's a comment. And I was trying to come on camera. I apologize. So, my daughter and Elise Turlon were the 2 students that went to Dakar in April of this year, and they actually have established a WhatsApp group chat with the college students that they were introduced to that Friday while they were there. And I know that there are 5 students from the university that are in the WhatsApp chat. So just from talking with my daughter, I know that they're communicating on a regular basis. And so I would like for that to be maybe part of the Pen Pal program, and just at least followed up on, and maybe the girls can give kind of a synopsis on what the conversations are like, what the students from the university are asking versus what Makia and Elise may be asking them, just to keep them in the loop, because it was established and they've been going strong now for 2 months.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh,
and we were hoping that would happen also. We would have,
Yes.
We were hoping the fella that translated for us, he and I communicate. He speaks English pretty well. And so he and I, we are still communicating. He calls me, and sometimes he'll just leave a recording. And he wants to come here and be a part. He's a part of Dakar Plateau group over there, their sister cities, and he wants to, after this meeting, if you record this meeting and you put it on our website, he's going to watch this meeting. Because he had to tell me about the previous meeting, because I wasn't I wasn't in attendance our last meeting, and he watched the previous meeting. He may be in this meeting right now. His English is really good, so.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for excellent reports. If there are no other questions, we're going to move into a presentation or discussion from Nat about adding an additional friendship city. So Nat, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Marcia and Phyllis and Marietta for that.
Thank you, Lena, and good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. With your permission, I'm going to take you very briefly to the background as to what has led me tonight, with Lena's permission, to make a presentation as to why we're requesting an official friendship city with Tainan, Taiwan. 8 years ago, I was the chairman of the City of Pasadena Human Relations Commission and was in Taiwan with my wife, Ying Huang. President Lai of Taiwan presently, at that time, was the mayor of Tainan and a dear high school and college friend of her brother for 45 years. For some reason, Mayor Lai and I hit it off. We became good friends, and for 1 week, he was a gracious host on a professional, ethical manner. I invited him to come to Pasadena as my guest, and also City of Pasadena. He followed that by coming here a month later. He spent the whole day with Mayor Tonick, at that time with Fred Alcaraz, Professor Kathy Wei, and other city officials, and had a wonderful time. And he even invited Terry Tony to go back to Taiwan as his guest. Prior to leaving, he asked us to work on making a sister city relationship with Tainan. I began to do so, but at that time, my dear friend and brother, may God bless his soul in heaven, John Kennedy, was working on Senegal. I backed out, let him to proceed with it. May of 2022, Mayor Huang of Tainan, at the request of President Lai, contacted me as to what is happening, and I told him that I will proceed with a friendship city, excuse me, which he accepted. Then I made a presentation, and since then, thanks to Lena, we have proceeded to get all the T's together. We have brought in over 10 members, diverse group, to be part of this initiation. We had an international music festival, July of 23, in Tainan. Mayor Huang and his entourage were gracious enough to give us University of Tainan for 2 weeks. They were part of it every day, helped us in many ways. We had cultural exchange, music festival, seminars, lectures. We had more than 48 students and faculty taking part from United States, Taiwan, Tainan, Jakarta, and China. Our students and their students became so friendly. They exchanged emails, and the students from Tainan want to come to the United States. We have so much in common: education, arts, science, music, democracy, and more importantly, we have such close relationship with President Lai, his vice president, and many other dignitaries, because I went back as the guest of President Lai for 1 week and interacted with everyone in his department, such as Chief Joint of Staff, Economic, Social, Education, Ambassadorship, and so forth. And I've kept in touch with him all the time. He even invited Yin and I to go to his inauguration when he was the vice president. Mayor Huang is anxiously really ready to hear from us. I've kept in contact with him. He even invited Mayor Gordo to go to Tainan last May this year to celebrate the 500 year of Tainan anniversary. I conveyed that message to Mayor Gordo. And for your information, in 2011, we held a similar international music culture exchange program in Seychelles, China, our sister city. We had over 100 student, faculty, and parents involved. We built a fantastic relationship with them. We had over 1,000 people from China attended our last music. We also held a similar festival in 2017 at PCC. Over 50 participants from US, China, Taiwan, Jakarta. Mayor Torek took part in it. We had a wonderful cultural exchange. So we are building really this relationship, as my dear friends spoke about it tonight, how it's important to move with countries who are anxious to become part of us. And Gordon talked very eloquently as why we need to expand. We have a lot of major relationship with Thailand. As I indicated, democracy, they are dying to expand. Children want to come to this country. They want to have exchange programs. And so we are ready to work with them. And they have shown all their graciousness, kindness, friendship, and more importantly, who can ask better to have the president of the country being our dear, dear friend, and we still communicate with him. So what all have said, I truly would appreciate your kindness to approve our representation and request for official sister city, and my apology, friendship city with Thailand, also with your respect and permission, and working with my dear friend, Senator Portantino, to get a contact to do the same festival in Yerevan, Armenia in 2015, which I will keep you informed. But more importantly, I thank you for your time. I thank Lena for her efforts and guiding me and giving us all that. I also, for your information, contacted Miss Roche Tanzi. She's the director of the International Sister City in Washington. She's very anxious. She knows President Lai. She's anxiously waiting to hear from us so she can put this in the books and make further contacts. And she was really very happy that we have reached out to Thailand. I cannot tell you how excited I am, because we have a country on the verge of continuing democracy, and they need more support, not only from us, from more countries to stand up for democracy, which is so great. And 90% of their people are excited about democracy. And President Lai is on the forefront to continue this democracy, which is so adamant in this time and our time of nation. Thank you, Lena, and thank you for all of you who are listening to me.
Thank you so much, Nat. So at this point, Nat, what are you asking the committee to do so that we can proceed? For all of you that don't know, the way that the Pasadena Sister City structures are set up, we have a Sister Cities partnership where it goes before City Council, they have to vote on it, but that takes a year and a half. A Friendship City is a process that's much easier and it's not as intense as a Sister City relationship. So it does not become a subcommittee that we currently have with our other 6 sister cities. So it's a Friendship City that we're looking at, building relationships, and maybe in a later date, it can be presented as a sister city.
Right.
So it's a distinct difference.
Yeah, tonight, with your permission, I would like to ask all my dear friends who are watching, listening, to please approve this Friendship City with Thailand. I have spoken to my good friend, Mayor Gordon, on a number of occasions. He's very excited to make an approval. But as I indicated, my dear friend Lena had to make sure everything is intact, in place. So everything is intact, ready to make the presentation to City Council and for the approval, which I'm sure Mayor Gordon will approve it, because he's very much familiar, and he was very kind enough to write an official letter in addition to Mr. Holden, my dear friend, writing letter to Thailand to host us. And I indicated, I cannot tell you how gracious, how kind and friendly they were. Usually, Thailand government does not get involved with the schools. It's like separation of churches and state. But because of
That is almost 8 o'clock. So
okay. Well, go ahead. That's it.
So how are we? What's the pleasure? What's the pleasure you're asking us? What are you asking?
I want everyone here to approve for Lena.
So are you putting a motion on the floor?
Yes, please.
Okay, so proceed.
All of you, if you be so kind, in favor of my proposal, if you be so kind, raise your hand or say aye to Lena's permission.
So what's the motion on the floor? You have to have a second, but the motion on the floor.
Motion is to present Friendship City officially for Thailand to Mayor Gordo and City Council for approval.
So you're asking that the body here vote for Tainan to be a friendship city. If we vote, then it has to be presented to the mayor of Pasadena, and then
Yes.
he presents it to the council, and then they vote. So we
Yes.
have to agree that we want a friendship city.
Yes.
So can you state that motion again? And then you need a second.
I'm requesting with your kindness to receive approval to present to Mayor Gordo an official friendship city with Tainan to be presented to his office and city council for approval.
I second.
And that's Yin Yin, that's second.
Yes.
Are there any questions for Mr. Nat Nadar?
Nat, the city's name is Tainan.
Tainan, southern part of Taiwan.
Tainan, Taiwan.
Okay.
My birth city. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Lena, I have.
Yes, there's a question from Marna. Marna?
No, that's me, Martin.
Yeah, Martin, I'm sorry, that was a mistake.
Oh, that's a mistake. Okay.
Yeah, my question is, and I'm sorry, I know there has been a lot of talk about this, and I haven't seen all of the documentation. I just want to be sure that all the documentation is in place that allows us to move forward with a friendship city. Also, what kind of fiscal impact does that have on us? And what exactly does that? I'm just not clear on what that obligation.
So let me explain, Martin, real quick. So Friendship City, there's no financial impact on us at all.
Okay.
Sister City, that's different. So Friendship City is an easier process. The mayor can approve it by himself, but he will put it before city council. And then Nat needs to build up his membership, and he already has 10 members that are going to be a part of this Friendship City. So there's no fiscal responsibility on our part at all.
And all the documents were submitted already, Martin. And as I indicated, Mayor Gordo has talked to me, and I've met him on several occasions. A number of city councils of my dear friends know of this project, and they're all ready for the presentation to approve it.
Okay, that answers my question.
Any other questions? Okay, so all of those that are not in favor say nay. All of those that are in favor, just, you could say, raise your hand, or you can remove your mic.
Aye.
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 Okay, great. Are there any abstentions? And I have a couple more. Any abstentions?
I abstain. I'm afraid that I just don't, I'm not clear enough on all the details, and so I don't want to.
Okay, so we have one abstention. Any other abstentions? Okay, great. Okay, the motion carries, and now what we will do is the motion carries with one abstention. Now we will prepare, Nat, I will need you to prepare something that we can officially sign off on at the executive team, and then we will present it to Mayor Victor Gordo.
Thank you, Lena, and thank you to each one of you. I truly appreciate that. And I hope you'll work with me for next year for Yerevan, Armenia. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from committee member Ron Carter. Ron Carter. He's the vice chair.
Before we go there, something that Nat said concerns me a little bit. I heard Nat say that he's talking about a friendship city in Armenia. We have a Armenia sister city, and I'm trying to understand: are we on two different tracks for Armenia? One that we have a sister city, and then Nat is moving for Friendship City in Armenia?
No, we are not moving for Friendship City, Martin. If you listen to me, I'd like to continue this international music festival on a yearly basis with all our sister city and friendship cities. That's one way through music, which is language of love, brings kids together. If you honor me by attending one of them,
I
you
heard what you said, Nat.
So-
Stop for a
So
minute.
just one more point of order. Since we voted on this, we've moved past the
I don't
questions.
know.
That discussion is closed. But Martin, I'm happy to talk to you offline.
Okay, because I'm just a little confused about
Okay, no problem. We can talk offline.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm going to turn over the mic to Ron Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. Our organization, the Pasadena Sister Cities Committee, Executive Committee, authorized a suspension review committee, which consisted of Martin Gordon, Tanisha O'Fray, and myself. After thorough deliberation and consideration and review, we determined that one of our members who has been violating our code of conduct should be suspended from Pasadena Sister Cities Committee. A letter will be sent to that member in a few days. And this membership, you will be receiving that same letter, a copy of that letter. If you have any questions, please wait until you receive the letter. Please read the letter. And if you have further questions, you can call Martin Gordon and he'll attempt to answer your questions. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and that concludes our meeting for tonight. We went a little over, it's a little after 8, but I thought it was important to have the speakers talk about the SR 710 because we all need to be informed and educated on what's happening around us. And I thank all of you for giving up your time, your evening to be a part of Pasadena Sister Cities. We are only what we are. We are only able to do what we do because of all of you. So thank you so very much for your service.
Excuse me, Madam President, I'm sorry. I
yes.
just wanted to get something on the record before we close out the meeting, if you would allow me to do that, please.
Absolutely.
I have been, and I don't know if others have been receiving emails, and the emails are appear that they are being sent from sister cities, but they are unauthorized emails. They are not coming from sister cities. There is a lot of inflammatory information stated in the emails that's simply untrue. So I would like it if we could open up an investigation, perhaps find out the IP address, and whomever this person is that's sending out these emails, maybe send a cease and desist notice to them. Again, it is not anything that is conducive to a healthy environment, the information that is in there, but more importantly, the emails are being sent out from an unauthorized person that is soliciting themselves as part of Sister Cities. So I would like to have that on the record, and hopefully we can do something to rectify that. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that. And all of you, please just take heed to that. And if you get an email and it's not signed by one of the executive team members, all correspondence come from Elizabeth Ellis, the secretary, or an executive team member. So if you get something otherwise, just you can forward it to Elizabeth or any of the executive team members. But we try to do things in decency and order. And thank you for bringing that up, Treasurer Joanne, and for putting it on the record. Thank you all for coming.
Madam President, can I say something? I also received that letter. I didn't appreciate it at all. I sent a letter back to them requesting that my name be removed from that mailing list. And I told them that I did not want to receive any more communications with them. And I made sure that my reply went to Jonna Stewart. And so after I sent that letter to them, the next day I blocked them so that I wouldn't receive it anymore because I didn't like that. Again, it's inflammatory and it's being sent anonymously. So you don't even know who you're receiving the letter from.
Lena, can I say something? I wasn't going to say anything, but I too received that email, and I wanted to know, how did they get my email?
Well, we're not able, we can't answer that, it was on.
Okay, I received one as well.
Yes, so the executive team is trying to deal with that.
Okay.
Treasurer Forte wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that
okay.
This was happening and we want it on the record, and we're proceeding in a professional manner to deal with it. Okay, thank you. So any other questions or input for the good of the cause? Okay, thank you. And does anyone want to propose that we close the meeting out? Put a motion on the floor to close the meeting out?
I move that we close the meeting.
I second.
All in favor, you can say
Aye.
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 All opposed? None. Any abstentions? None. The meeting is officially adjourned. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Leela. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lena.
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Good night.
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 Good to see you, Camille. Good to see you, Phyllis. Mother Phyllis, how are you? I'm gonna call you tomorrow morning.
Okay. I'm gonna hold you
I
to
love
it.
you, little John.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good night,
night.
Phyllis. Hi, Gabrielle. Hi, Stephen and Justin Chapman and Heavenly and Sandra.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Tatras, good to see you. Linda Wright, good to see you. Sonia Ware. Tatras Beasley. Good night.